Zeenat, and welcome to Careers of the Future, a show where students can hear directly from Ismailis at the leading edge of their careers on how to best effectively prepare for the future of work. My name is Zeenat Ali. I'm a member of the Ismailis youth team. I'm also a student and your host for this episode. Today we'll be exploring the future of art with our special guest, Zeenat Lakhani. Zeenat Lakhani is an accomplished screenwriter based in Mumbai. If you're into Bollywood, you most probably heard of two films she's worked on, Shaadi Ke Side Effects and Hindi Medium, the first released in 2014 and the second in 2017. Zeenat, thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure, Junaid. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
Yes, me too. So I guess let's begin by talking about really the industry you work in. What is it like being a screenwriter and what keeps you busy these days?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question first. I've just completed writing a film for Netflix and that got shot last week. So that's what I've just completed. I'm also working on another feature and that's ongoing. What's it like to be a screenwriter? I wish there was as simple an answer to that question. But let me try. So you've probably heard a lot of cliches that it's a very lonely process. You can spend an entire day staring at a computer, not writing a single word. Let me tell you that all of those cliches are true. Okay, so it can be difficult. It can be unnerving. It is lonely. But there's also a bright side to it. I think it's a profession where every time you write a new film, you explore a new world, and you learn about that world while you're researching, while you're meeting different people. You learn everything that there is to learn about that space. And then when you create your own space, when you're writing a film, you create your own space, you inhabit it with your own characters. And then through those characters, you almost vicariously live those lives. So it can be very fulfilling as well. So that's one thing. The other thing about screenwriting, I think, is that you're creating something out of nothing. And there's a certain magic to that. The fact that you can go ahead and build an entire world from literally nothing at all is quite powerful, I think. And when you do write a film and when you do create a world and when that connects with the audience, that can be a wonderfully satisfying feeling. It has the power to provide insights. It has the power to shift perspectives. It has the power to evoke emotions in people. When you write a scene, a funny scene, and when people laugh, it's a group of people in a dark auditorium watching your film and laughing. That can be the best sound in the world. So there are a lot of high points as well, which I often think don't get talked about as much. So that's it in a nutshell.
So thank you so much, Zeenat. That's really beautiful. I'm just enchanted by the idea of you creating something from your heart and then it ending up on the big screen. And also about what you've been doing with Netflix. That's actually so exciting to hear, and I look forward to maybe watching what you create on my Netflix here in Sydney. My next question, I guess it's more personal. Have you always wanted to be a screenwriter? Did you always know that you'd end up a screenwriter as well?
Well, I don't think I always wanted to be a screenwriter. In fact, I wanted to be a doctor. That's how I started out. But when that didn't work out, I had, in fact, quite a few well-meaning friends, mentors, nudge me in the direction or in the general field of medicine. People suggested that I become a physiotherapist or an occupational therapist. But there was one friend who asked me, is this what you see yourself doing for the rest of your life? And I'm so grateful for that question, because when I asked myself that question, I heard a resounding no. And so I thought of what is the next best thing I'd like to do. And I knew that I enjoyed writing. So I did mass communication. I started working as a journalist. From journalism, I moved to broadcast journalism. Once I was in TV, I started writing fiction, and from fiction, I moved to features. Um, so, to answer your question, did I always want to be a screenwriter? No, but I've always been writing. My entire professional life, I have been writing in some form or the other. So I think that's a good way to sort of assess my career graph, to see that that's been the constant all along. And it's okay sometimes if you don't know what it is that you want to do at the start. Sometimes you find your way. Sometimes you know right at the beginning what you want to do. You may do it and you may change your mind. So everybody has a different journey. Everybody has a different way at which they arrive at what they want to do. But I think the important thing is to be able to do what you really enjoy doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. So, how would someone know that a future in the arts is for them?
Well, I think we can safely say that usually when you talk of the arts, you conjure up the image of the starving artist. I think we can safely say that those days are behind us, and I really want to say this to parents as well, that if there's your children want to pursue the arts, I think please encourage them. We're so sort of focused on our kids being doctors and engineers, and I understand that parents come from a space where they want to financially safeguard their kids' futures. I think it's also very important to safeguard their happiness. And that if that comes from wanting to pursue the arts, I think that should be a choice that is available. Today there are hundreds of options available to you even within the arts. So you can be you can go into animation, you can go into computer graphics. There is a lot that you can choose from. How do you know if this is if the arts is a good fit for you? If this is something that you enjoy, if you enjoy creating, if you enjoy sitting together and brainstorming, if you enjoy ideas, then that's the sort of space for you. I think it's also one of the careers which will stand the test of time, because with AI, a lot of jobs have gotten automated, but fortunately, creativity is still in the domain of human beings. And there is a premium on creativity. If you think about what are the 21st century skills, creativity is one of those. So this is still something that will be important in the future. And if you have a desire, if you feel you enjoy doing this, then this is certainly something that you should explore, because there are many options within it that you can, where you can also be financially stable. Then there will be security, and you can, and it's a good mix of being a commercial artist and at the same time satisfying this creative need within you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved your point about how diverse the arts are. I think that's what makes the field so strong. And also your point about AI, like it's such an evident trend in a lot of industries where AI tends to take a lot of jobs that humans once did. And your point about creativity is very compelling, which brings me on to my next point about, I guess, the skills that people will need to succeed in a field like the arts. What skills do you think have brought you to where you are today in your career?
So I think, as a screenwriter, I'm not going to say that I have all of these skills, but it's a daily battle. You have to be driven, you have to be self-motivated, okay? You have to be very disciplined, because you don't have a weekly report, you don't have a boss who's looking at your work at the end of the day. So those are things, there are timelines that you have to create for yourself and you have to adhere to them. So that's, I think, an important thing that you have to keep in mind. I think another important aspect is that you have to have creative stamina. I'm not going to talk about creativity because that's a given. You certainly are creative, which is why you're even exploring something in this space. But to be able to have the creative stamina to wake up every morning and think to think up new ideas and to think up new approaches. So as a screenwriter, there are days when the same scene will get rejected multiple times, and you have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to find a new approach. I'm going to find a new way of making this happen. So just the sheer stamina of approaching it day after day after day. So I think that's another very important skill. I think the third thing is you need to build resilience in yourself, because every time you write something, you're putting a part of you out there to be critiqued, right? And there are going to be people who are not going to like what you do. Even before a film is made, when you write the script, it goes to a director, it will go to a producer, it will go to actors. Everybody is going to have a take on it, and everybody is going to give you that feedback. You have to have the grit to be able to withstand that feedback, to go back to the drawing board and to rework and incorporate that feedback. So I think that is a very important skill that you need to know that this is something that you're going to have to deal with. You're going to have to be able to work on it, and you're going to have to come back with a better version. So I think those are some skills that you clearly need to develop.
Thank you, Zeenat. That was really, really insightful, especially what you mentioned about automation. I think that's a very, very valid concern, and it brings me to think about how students wanting to pursue a future in the arts more generally might set themselves apart from the competition around them, whether that competition is other people in the industry or whether that competition is artificial intelligence. What are your thoughts on that?
So whatever field it may be, whether it's screenwriting or anything else in the arts, or anything else for that matter in any profession, you have to be good at what you do. You really have to strive for that. With the arts, it's a little difficult because it's so subjective, right? What one person considers good might not really be considered good by another person, by somebody else. The idea is to be able to sort of create something which transcends as much as possible, which reaches out to as large an audience as possible, which transcends time as well, and then therefore becomes a classic. So that's the ideal, okay? And that's what you need to sort of strive for. Now, how do you get to even aspiring to something like that? So one way of doing that is to sort of, as much as you input, that will reflect in the output. So as much as you sort of draw on various experiences, draw on various art forms, the more you read, the more galleries that you visit. I was just reading the other day that Meera Nair, who's a very well acclaimed director, she some of her scenes start out from a photograph that she sees. So she'll see a photograph, and that sort of clicks something in her mind, and she starts to build a scene around it. So you don't know what your source of inspiration will be. The one thing you do know is that you do need inspiration, right? You do need triggers. You do need something which will sort of set up the seed in your mind, and which you can sort of develop and weave around and create. So you need to enrich your life with as much as possible, as many influences as possible, as much inspiration as possible, and that can come from anywhere. It can come from poetry, it can come from music, it can come from from art, it can come from observing people. So make sure that you fill your life with these experiences, so that when you sort of sit to write, you have this rich bank to draw on. And it's not a very conscious process. It's not, it won't be so easy for you to sort of join the dots and say, oh, I saw this, this painting in the museum, or I heard this piece of music, and that's why I'm writing this scene. No, it's a constant evolution. That's the beauty of art. The dots are not always visible to you. once you sort of see all of this, once you experience these things in life, they will have an impact in your thought process, and it will enrich your writing experience or whatever art form that you choose to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think those skills, especially the idea of creative stamina and resilience, I think they're very, very relevant to all our lives. I know that I'll certainly be trying to implement those skills in my life as well. Yeah. So I guess my final question is for high school students and university students who are looking to get into screenwriting, where should they start, as a first step in getting their foot in the door?
So I think things are so much more easier now than they have been, say, 10 years ago, because through the internet you have so many resources available to you. There are screenwriting classes, there are online classes, there are books on screenwriting, there are screenplays which are available which you should read, there are analysis of those screenplays. There are master classes. So I would recommend that you sort of just imbibe all of that. Read up as much as you can, read on structure of screenplay writing. That's, I think, the first step. You really need to sort of be able to go through each of those things, understand that, and internalize it. That's the first step. Another thing that I would recommend is that each of us has lived an individual life, a unique life. And therefore, each of us has a unique voice. So I would recommend that you find that unique voice within you. What is it that you have to say which is different from what anybody else can say? What is your life experience which will offer insight to 200 people watching a film? So I think it's important to sort of find that voice within you, to find that unique perspective that you can offer. So that's, I think, a second step that I would recommend. I think it's important to also have people around you who can be honest with you, because everything that you create, you love. It's your baby, right? So you'll instantly fall in love with it, but you need a reality check. So it's important to have a mentor, maybe somebody who is a screenwriter, maybe somebody who's a director, friend of yours, or just your friends who will read your stuff and give you honest feedback. If you're enrolled in film school or in a screenwriting course, your friends can become a peer review group for you. You can read each other's scripts and give feedback. So I think that's also important. Another thing I would recommend is don't wait for a big break, or when I get commissioned as a writer, or when I finish film school, or when I work with a big screenwriter. I don't think in today's time you need to do any of that. I think what you need to do is to use the many opportunities that are available to you. So you can write a film. There are multiple screenwriting. There are festivals. There are grants being given to screenwriters. Our own Jubilee Arts Festival, right, where you could produce a film. Use all of these opportunities. You can write a film today, and you can send it to certain people who will read your film and critique it and give you feedback. You can draw on your friends' help. Maybe shoot a film that you've written, upload it on YouTube, and get instant feedback. There are so many different ways in which you can actually go out there and test your material, right? You don't have to wait for it to come on the big screen. So I would really, really encourage people to use the opportunities that are available to them. And finally, I would say the most important thing is to actually write. Everybody has an idea, but the journey from an idea to a 100-page screenplay, it's a long and lonely one. It's not for everybody. So I would urge people who want to be screenwriters to actually write a screenplay, and you'll know if this is something that you enjoy, because a lot of it is in the journey. A lot of the pleasure, a lot of the satisfaction comes from writing a scene every day and enjoying it. You have to remember you are your first audience. So if you enjoy what you've written, then that is validation for the work that you've done. So go out there and write that screenplay. Write. I think that's the most important thing. So those are, I think, some of the things that I would recommend.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Zeenat. I found that some very, very compelling advice. Thank you so much. And Zeenat, I guess thank you so much for your time, and thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Remember to stay tuned to the Ismaili for future episodes. We'll be hearing from leaders from different fields about how their industries are being shaped by the future of work. Thank you so much.